back to Flagship Lite. I'm Nidlan and we're again joined by Anuj, and today we're going to be talking about Google Stadia. So as you may know, Stadia was supposed to be Stadia was released I think last year or the year before, and it was a complete flop. It was hyped up so much and it just completely flopped. So we'll start talking about how it works and why people were so hyped up for it, and why it was supposedly going to be the next big thing in the gaming industry.
Yeah, so the idea was lots of people don't want to shell out the money for a new gaming console or a PC. So Google came up with the idea of letting people play video games on the Google Chrome browser, just on whatever laptop you have. And obviously everyone's really excited because we've never seen anything like that before. But Google ran into a lot of problems. We'll start talking more about that later. But the idea was you can pay for a Stadia Pro subscription, which is, I think, £9 per month. And that's fairly cheap without having to buy a console. Everyone was really excited, and then, they just flopped.
And bearing in mind, this was supposed to be PS4 / PS5 and Xbox Slayer as such, but then it turned out a bit like this. So, So what games do they have on Stadia at the moment?
So they have PUBG and F1, they're great games, but they're not the best ones that are out there. And, the idea was they would add more third-party games over time, but they don't seem to have gotten many other games on. And they were also planning to develop games themselves. So they hired, developers from Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty, and they wanted their help to make the next best game. But that didn't work out, so they ended up firing all 150 of them.
I think that's crazy, but it's such a Google thing to do. You wouldn't expect Apple to do this stuff. So why did they fail? Because it was such a hyped up product, and it promised so much. There are a few key details that ensured its failure as such. So I think one of them was not delivering their promises. So they said that it was going to function completely fine on Wi-Fi, but people have experienced bad glitching even on full bars of Wi-Fi, which is not great. They said it was fine working with Ethernet, but realistically, how many people use their Wi-Fi with Ethernet at the moment?
If they're going to make games over internet connection, they have to make sure it's going to be compatible with these kind of laptops, because you'd imagine people that don't want to buy a console, their laptop isn't going to be the most, high-end laptop. Having a really low-spec laptop can't help, with Google Stadia. So I think they marketed it wrong, saying, anyone can play it with an internet connection. That's not true. They're going to experience a lot of glitching.
Obviously, that was the main reason why it failed, and there wasn't really much communication from Google afterwards. They didn't try and help fix the issue. They just sort of let it be, and they didn't do much to help either. So I think that was a key point where they failed as well, and I think that's what has led to the demise of Stadia. So
I can't remember who it was, but I think as one of the heads of Terraria or something, Terraria was locked out of their Gmail, their Google Drive, their YouTube channel. Everything was frozen. The guy tried to contact Google to ask them why it all happened, and they wouldn't give him a reason. And that caught, obviously, he was really annoyed about that, because I think he kept a lot of Terraria files on Google Drive, and now he couldn't access them. So I think at that time, they were developing Terraria to be played on Stadia. Because of that, they called off all projects with Google. They said, we won't be working with Google anytime in the future. You've burned that bridge. So, he's really angry.
As Google, you can't be doing that to potential companies who will put their games onto your platform. You need it to succeed, so don't, annoy them by doing stupid stuff like this.
The thing is, Terraria is a really popular game. I don't play it myself, but it's popular with lots of people. And the thing is, lots of people play it on their Android phones, so they need to be able to get it from Google Play. And obviously, Terraria, they can't take it off Google Play. They'll lose half their customers. So they're keeping it on Google Play, but that relationship is really rocky.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with lots of other companies and even like small developers and stuff. No one thinks Google will carry on with this gaming thing. So if you look at all of Google's past projects, like how many of them have stayed for over a year or over 2 years or something? So many of Google's projects have failed or have just been discontinued within the first year. So I think that Google really needed to do something right with Stadia, and all these small developers and small companies and even like the bigger companies as well, they don't need to put their games on Stadia. It's just too much effort, and like they don't know when Google's going to pull the plug and stop Stadia. So yeah, that's another big part of why it failed, because it takes a lot of effort to, change a game and make it compatible with a different platform. And I mean, why take all that hassle when Google could potentially stop it quite soon? And yeah, it's sort of the opposite with Microsoft, because they're really into the gaming industry, with the Xbox stuff. So if Microsoft did the exact same things, then lots of small developers and even bigger ones as well would be more inclined to put their games on Microsoft service. Yeah, so that's roughly why Google failed with Stadia, and I don't think they'll be doing quite well in the gaming industry anytime soon if they try to do this again. So it's quite sad for them, really. And yeah, they have, as I mentioned before, they did try to resurrect it. They had tried to do some stuff, so they set up a new project for indie developers to start putting their games onto Stadia, and they tried to make it easier for smaller games to be put on it. And they've also tried to do lots of YouTube ads with famous YouTubers and gamers. So they've been trying to get it back. Obviously, it's not working, and yeah, I think it'll stay like that for some time now. And yeah, I think this is the end of Stadia. So yeah, that's Google trying to resurrect Stadia, but ultimately failing. So what does the future look like? I mean, we've said that Google Stadia, this is like probably their end. But do you think they can do anything to get it back into the mainstream gaming? If they do, and I don't think they will, I think that's the one thing that can get them back into mainstream gaming, because FIFA's a big game and lots of people play it. And imagine having FIFA at your fingertips on your phone or on your laptop whenever you want. Yeah, as I said before, I don't think they'll be able to do it. I think it's just something they'll say, throw it into the mix, hope people get hyped up for, and then they just won't do it in the end. But yeah.
And right now, if you were to look at Stadia, the types of games that they've got on there don't look great. Like, they're all really weird ones, that you've never heard of. And even if they do manage to get big game, I think the only way they can succeed is if they get big games on there. Because if they just keep adding weird small title games, it's not going to work out for them.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone really wants to work with them now after all the fiasco with the first, the initial launch of Stadia. It's been quite ambitious, but definitely a rocky start. They know how to create hype, though. I remember all the stuff that was going on about Stadia, and everyone just talking about it and how it was going to be the next big thing. But they know how to kill hype as well. That's how they did it. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed. Let us know if you have any comments or feedback. Be sure to leave it in the comments down below. Stay tuned for the next episode.